Hello, my name is Shulamit, and I'm the creator of the MetaSounds process. Every Sunday at noon, I host a Zoom meeting for us to explore wisdom teachings and experience the healing power of MetaSounds. These meetings are made possible by generous donors. Please help this site thrive by liking and subscribing, and please join our newsletter at greatoctave.com to receive notices of our events. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you all. In the midst of all this chaos and upset and overturning of the worlds, I think it's very important to return to basic ideas which have sustained human history and human civilization since the beginning of time. There's a story from the Kabbalah, which I find quite beautiful, which said that before we're born, we know everything that there is to know. We know the past and the future. We know our destiny. We know the reason why we're here. And then we're born and we forget everything because an angel touches our lips and causes all that information to go away. And that is why we have those two little lines underneath our nose. So we forget everything, but we don't completely forget because we're always yearning. We're always wanting to go back. We always want to reunite. We always want to be connected. But life takes us from that because there's a lot to conquer. We're each born in different circumstances, some with financial security and a lot of love. Others have to struggle quite a bit. There is maybe not one story for each of us, but it doesn't matter the station into which you're born. For everybody, there is this yearning, there is a sense that there's something missing. Now you are taught, or you can speak to your friends, or you can think about it yourself and decide that that's just baloney, that there's nothing missing, that this is what it is, this is reality, deal with it. But many of us, underneath the surface of all that chattering that goes on around us, are looking. We're looking to connect. And of course, at the same time, we're living. We have to make a living. We have to, put a roof over our heads and food in our mouths. We have to feed children and relatives. We have to care. We advance our careers and so on. And it's possible to, it's not only possible, it happens all the time. People forget what they're about and think that life is only material. So there's a suffering that comes out of that. But for those who are sincerely searching, the path is very rocky. First, you have the people around you who tell you you don't know what you're looking for, and it's crazy because this is all there is. And then there's a lot of stories around you that are actually false stories, things that are easy to fall into. Like if you're thinner, you'd probably be happier, you'd be more socially accepted. If you're richer, you would be happier because everything would be taken care of. If you conform to whatever the current point of view is, you will be happier. You won't have to stand outside of society and criticize it. And then there are people who really take advantage of the souls that are searching, people who use that yearning to take advantage, to make money, to sexually exploit. I mean, we read about these stories in the paper all the time, and some of us, unfortunately, have fallen victim to it. To follow the path of truth takes work and discipline. But the one thing I want to emphasize today is that you cannot climb the ladder of consciousness if you behave badly. You have to behave well. You have to try to behave correctly. You have to try to not follow the path of vengeance, of acquisition to the point where you're taking advantage of everybody. You have to have an awareness, and it becomes more important when you're on this path. And you have to think of it like, well, a child. A child can grab a toy from their sibling. They can push them down. They can do things that are not so-called nice, but they're children. So you try to teach them what is the correct way. If you do something like this when you're a teenager, it becomes less acceptable. Maybe you're still given a break, maybe you're still saying, oh, she or he's young, and that's why they're doing that, and you try to correct them. But there's a point at which you sort of graduate into so-called maturity, and these things are not overlooked so much anymore. So, for example, if you're stealing candy from a grocery store when you're 4, I don't even know if you could consider it stealing because a child doesn't know property laws. But, that's a forgivable offense. If you do that when you're 12 or 13, it becomes less forgivable. If you're doing it when you're 18 or 19, not so much stealing candy, but stealing cars or stealing other things, stealing money, now you're in a position where you could be arrested. And furthermore, you're hanging around with very bad people, and they influence your behavior. And let's say you graduate from that into something even more extreme, some kind of theft or violence, which, is really falls under not only under moral law, but under legal law, where you end up in prison and now you're surrounded with really horrible people and it's very, very hard to get out. So each action that we take, each thought, each thing that we do carries different consequences as you get older. You have to take responsibility as you get older. Well, when you're moving away from living a material life into a more conscious life, it becomes more and more important that you behave correctly, because it's not just, sort of like raising your hands and feeling the spirit enter you. There are obligations that are placed on you when you have awareness. And those obligations are very serious because in the other worlds, there is a similar construct to here. There are not just beautiful beings in the heavens. They're not just only wonderful angels. There are also bad angels. And there are also bad beings that can seize you and take you if you don't watch what you're doing. So it's very, very important to behave properly. That's like a simple thing. I mean, it may be hard to do all the time, but it's a simple thing. It's not about, oh, I'm going to study or I'm going to meditate and all of a sudden I'm going to see God or feel God. Well, maybe you will. Maybe you will. But in that moment, when you feel that, you will not be able to hold on to it unless you have prepared the ground. It's a different level of consciousness. It's different rules. It's different awareness. And you cannot hold on to it unless you prepare the ground. And one of the ways to prepare the ground is to be very mindful of the way you act and the way you speak. And this becomes, I know this seems like, when I think about it, it seems like really puny. Like, how do you fight what's going on in the world right now? How do you fight the evil? How do you fight the harshness? How do you fight the bitterness? If you're a person who's like not a military person or not in control, how do you fight it? It doesn't seem enough to say behave well. And yet that is what we have. We have the capacity to meet hatred with love, to not participate, even if you can't love the person, to not participate in that hatred. It's all a lie. It's all a lie, and it ends very, very badly because, as you all know, it's extremely easy to get trapped by the violent speech of others. For example, you could be sitting around a family holiday dinner and one of your relatives could really grab you by saying something hostile and angering and whatever, and you might respond in kind, and now you're in a really bad argument. in which no one is going to be convinced, by the way. And you're going to sieve. You're just going to sieve, and it's going to spill over. This is no way to. This is no way to live. If enough people, and I believe there are many, many people who are trying to do this, and in different faiths, they're trying to walk a path of kindness and decency and try to keep out of the way of this inflammatory language and behavior, which causes us to get really, really riled up and to respond in kind. So I think, as I speak it, I say, oh, wow, this is pretty weak as a way to combat what we're into right now. But I don't think it's weak. I think ultimately it's what prevails. I can't say exactly what's going on now, but it certainly is a period of chaos. And science has shown that chaos is actually masking something that's being created. Don't forget the original creation came out of chaos. That while there are these chaotic events and you can't figure out where they're leading, underneath it, there is something being reorganized. We can't perceive it yet, but we will in time, and this period will surely end one day. But what's going to be on the other side? What are we carrying forward? And we have to carry forward this decency, this kindness to counteract the harshness and the bitterness and the anger and the violence that's all around us. And perhaps this is what we have to go through, this destruction. It certainly seems that way. But I think we all agree that we don't know exactly where we're going and what's going on. But to maintain that stability, to carry the honor, to carry with dignity principles of decency is very, very, very important, even though it may seem trivial. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, I think is the expression. You're not going to win. But I think we do. I think we eventually prevail. And for this time, which feels like a massive ending to a way of thinking and being, and I'm talking about for 8,000 years, this period of we live in a time and have lived in a time of judgment, of who's better than who, and whose religion is better than somebody else's religion, and how much better we are than the people that we feel we're better than. I mean, all of this constant judgment, which brings no happiness whatsoever. I mean, just speaking from a personal happiness standpoint, what breeds happiness is compassion. Compassion sees the truth of what's going on, but sees it with love. So you're judging, but you're seeing everything with love, and that softens it and makes it more possible to deal with it, and makes it more fruitful to change it. And anyway, this is what we have. We have our love. And I've lived long enough to come to believe that is the only thing that we ever had and ever will have, that lasts and sustains and carries you through really, really dark moments. My work is about helping people who want to raise their consciousness, who want to wake up, who want to connect, who want to find that connection which was lost at birth. And I'm not just talking about belief. I'm talking about a deep found faith, a real connection, something that you feel that sustains you every day. And it's really hard to get at it because our ego and our sense of accomplishment and mastery and judgment and whatever else is going on with us keeps us from this truth. And this truth is embedded in each of us. It's not separate from us. It's not outside of us. We have to connect inside. So it's a lot of work to get to that, because you have to struggle against your habits. You have to come to a different kind of conclusion than what is generally spoken about in the society. But it's really worth it. It's really, really worth it because the end point is very rewarding. So, but again, just to emphasize that it's not to say I'm having a spiritual experience and assume that's it. If you want to hang around with people who are really elevated and with beings that are elevated and to touch beings in other worlds, you have to clean up your act. And I'm not coming from a place of sainthood. I had to clean up my act. I still have to clean up my act. I'm a human being, right? And so are you human beings. So it's work, but it's work that's graced. It's work that is seen by the heavens. It is work that is supported by the heavens. So on that note, I'm just going to make sounds to you now. And for those of you who haven't been here before, you really have to just relax, put your feet on the floor, close your eyes, be in a place without distractions to receive the sounds. The sounds may have a message for you specifically. And the sounds have the capacity to silence your mind, to allow other forces to be heard and your essence to be heard. Okay. Thank you for joining me today and being part of our community. I invite you to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Time for the full live experience. Wishing you a wonderful week, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Visit greatoctave.com for more details about these webcasts, our newsletter, donations, and more.